Welcome to part 2 of Competency 12. In this video, we will work with shapes of data. Shown here are two shapes of data. An instance where we have our data skewed to the left, and notice that particular form, and then also skewed to the right, where we have the mean being greater than the median, which is greater than the mode, and for skewed to the left, the mean is less than the median, which is less than the mode. Now, we also have two other types of data that you should be familiar with, and that would be symmetric and uniform. If you're unfamiliar with these things, go on YouTube, find some good videos. There are lots of places where you can brush up on this information. Number one, what is the mean, mode, and distribution of the following data? Okay, this little weird looking M here, mu, he is a notation, a symbol for mean, which of course is average, okay? All right, so let's look at what we have here. We have a distribution table, which is a class distribution table. And what do we need to do first? Well, it looks like we need mean. We need the class mode. And then we need to figure out if it's skewed to the right or skewed to the left. Well, mean is going to take us a bit more time. However, we can quickly look at which way this would be skewed, as well as look at the mode class. Okay, well, how do we determine the the mode class? Well, you go down your frequency table, see which value is greatest. In this case, it is 20, and that frequency goes with this particular class. So that would be our mode class. Well, let's see who we can eliminate. Well, C we can eliminate because that's incorrect. A's okay, so we can check mark there. B is a check mark. Oh, D's out. D's not going to work. There you go. Now we're down to 2. Now let's take a look here. Well, is it skewed to the right or skewed to the left? Okay, now let's think about where our mode is. And let's go up and look at our images here. Well, mode is on the opposite end of your skew, your tail. Okay, now if we were to turn our frequency tail on its side, our frequency table on its side, what would we see? Well, it would look like this. It'd be skewed and then it would go up and then quickly go down. Okay? Or, yeah, that's probably the best that we could do because the mode has 20. Either way, that's a good sketch, and it's very obvious that it would be skewed to the left. Okay, that's one bit of information that helps. Well, that would imply that B is what we need. That's a check mark there, and this won't work. Well, that eliminates A, C, and D, but we still need to follow through and prove that B is what we need. How do we do that? How do we find mean in these? Okay, at the high school level, they take this a little further, and there's other information that you need to find, like the median, but not for this. This is very simple. All we need to do is figure out what is like this center here for each of those. And then we use that in L1 in our L1 in our calculator. Anyway, that's where I'm going to put it. Okay. And we go ahead and this frequency over here, all of these values, let's put them in L3. Okay, or we could use L1, L2. I'm sorry. This could be L1, L. It doesn't matter. Just make sure you know which ones you put it in. And if you're not familiar with this, not a big deal. You'll catch on quick, okay? First, we need to find what is in the middle of these classes. Well, what is the length of each of these classes. Like you're going to create a histogram, which is something you need to learn how to do. Okay. So let's see what is the value of each class? Well, 22 minus 17. Well, that's 5. Well, their value is 5, okay? Each of these. Now, divide that by 2. You want to cut it in half, okay? That's the center. So you add 2.5 to each of these beginning values. For example, the first one is 17 plus 2.5. Well, that's 19.5. Okay. The next one, that'll be 25.5. And the next one, that will be 31.5. And then 37.5. And then 43.5. So we will create our table or rather our list in our calculator and come out with a mean value. It's not tough, okay? All right, so and I'm going to also show you about data. Okay, so push that data button. There are my lists. Now, I could just go ahead and populate the frequency column and put it in L3 like I was going to do, but let's not do that. Let's do what I have written here, L1, L2. It is, as you work with these, you're going to find out it doesn't matter. Now, there is one thing about this 30X or XB, XS, whichever you're using, doesn't matter. You're going to notice you only have 3 columns to work with, okay? It's not like your TI-84 where you have several, okay? All right, so now I want you to push the data button again. You can clear out your list, which is what I'm going to do. However, I want to clear them all out together. So I'm going to arrow down, and I have something called number 4, and it cleared, the minute I pushed 4, cleared them all out, okay? All right, now let's go ahead and start populating our L1 and L2. 19.5, enter, okay? 25.5, enter. 31.5, enter. 37.5, enter again. And then 43.5, okay? Now, notice I have 5 rows, and right here it says L15, and that's my last entry. So that's telling me that I haven't skipped anything. Always double check that before you move on. Okay, now let's put in our frequency values. So 2, enter, then 4, then 9, okay, 13, and then the 20, and it should all line up. And yes, it does. That's nice. Okay. Now what we need to do is be careful. I need to use my stats. Notice it's above. So I like to go second mode because sometimes it wants to do everything at the bottom of my list, and it really can mess up what you're working with and be, like you think you did something wrong. So back out now, push second data. Now you're in your stats, okay? All right, now it does to make a difference which one of these you push. Yeah, your stat vars, but we want to use L1 and a frequency. Okay, so I want you to use number 1, which is one var stat. That means one variable stat. Okay, all right, so that's number 1. Okay, I have it set up here. Yes, I want my data. I'm saying my data is in 1, but see how it says FRQ? That's my frequency. Well, I don't want to use the number 1 for all of them. And that works for some things, and you'll see that later. But I want to use L2, so I push enter. And now verify that you did that correctly. L1, L2. Okay, let's push enter. Oh, very nice. First off, it says I have 40, n equals 48. That means you had 48 points of data. Well, that's just your calculator trying to make sense of what you put in. Okay. you didn't put in 48, but it's the way we put it in. The calculator is kind of sensing what we have going on here, that we have a frequency. Well, if you add up the number of frequencies, guess what that's going to add up to? 48. So there are 48 pieces of data. It's just they went into frequency classes. So you had two two frequencies. That was 2 points of data. And then you add that to the six and so on and so on. So our total is n equals 48. So that's nice that the calculator quickly figured that out. Okay, now we have a mean. That is number two. It's X bar. Now, if you don't know about data, that is a sample mean. Okay. Uh, so that's what we need. This is our sample. This is our data we have. It's very small. It's less than 50 things, pieces of data. So there we go. 37 and 1/4. And that matches what B has. But while we're here, let's take a look at what we have. Okay. There's other things that can be calculated. So just keep arrowing down and take a look. Some of this will come up. I like the fact that it goes with not just your let's see here. It has your QX, your sample, not just your mean, your deviation, your standard deviation. Okay, let me go down. Sorry about that. All of these things have meaning, and at the middle school level, you won't use them all. But if you know where they are, what they are, and you studied them, you'll see that maybe you didn't know this calculator did these things. But we are going to use this. Look at how it tells us what our minimum is if our data wasn't in order. That is nice information. Now here's our Q1. Remember your Q1 and your Q2. Median is Q2. Remember Q3. This would be for your box whisker plots or well, they call it box plot now. Box and whisker is what they called it in the past. Okay, then you have your max. And then if I keep going down, see, this one doesn't have as much. Okay, so you can go up and down and it bounces to the bottom and top. So this is what we needed. Okay, just a little FYI, we're going to use this some more, but in different ways. Okay, as we move along. All right, let's go to number two. Number two, which graph represents the distribution of the data given in question one? Okay, so here's our table again. Okay, it is obvious that for each class, and they are a length of 4, it was 5. They are a value of 5. However, we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 classes. Now let's take a look here. Let me go up, kind of see all of it. Well, that quickly eliminates B. And it looks like D and C and A, yes, they both have 5 classes. However, let's look at what they should look like. Well, we've already stated that the first class, and if it had numbers, okay, it would be closer to 0. Well, 0 would be on the left. So that means our smallest value, class values, would be first. And over here at this end, this should say 16.5. Okay, and that would be appropriate. We would not label it 17 to 22. That's not what a histogram should look like. So it should be here at 16.5, and then this one, which would be 22.5. And notice that would be halfway between this 22 and this 23. So that way you capture all of those whole values or values that are in between or not in between, but actually in the class itself. Okay. So that being said, looks like this is 2 here with A. So I'm going to say A works. Now let's look at C. I think C looks symmetric. Our data is not symmetric. You can see that. So I'm going to disagree with C. And I'm going to disagree with D because it's saying that the first class that all of rather, it's the mode. Well, our last class here would be our mode, which is the value 20. So that would make sense. So this last one, that would be the 46.5, and this would be the 40.5 here. So that would be your 5, uh, the length of 5 would be in there. So whatever was between, or rather any value of 40 to 46 would go in that class. So it catches it all. And that would be the very most. There are 20 of those items. So yes, option A makes sense. Now, if you're not sure what I was talking about using the halves before and after, go look up histograms. Like I said before, brush up on these particular types of data charts, okay? All right, let's go to number 3. Number 3, which plot is skewed to the right? Okay, well, immediately I can see that we can eliminate A and D. Why can we do that? Well, A is what we called uniform. That's a uniform skew. So that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for skewed to the right. D, that is what we call symmetric. So it has symmetry. Maybe not completely symmetric, but it is considered symmetric. Okay, so because it's close enough. Now let's look at B and C. Okay, well, let's look at Q2. We don't have a median. I mean, we have a median here. Okay, we don't know the value, but even if we did know the values, this is also Q2 for C, we would know, we would kind of know what to look at because we don't have a mode or a mean. Okay, we can't even if we had some values, we couldn't calculate it. But what we do know is that whichever whisker is longer, that is the direction of the skew. So looks like here, this is left. So the left-hand side is longer, so it will be skewed to the left. And that is not what we're looking for. We are looking for right, skewed to the right. Well, this whisker would be what we're looking for on C, that is skewed to the right. That's simply how we look at it. Now, if we were to draw it, it would look like this. Actually, I'm not even drawing it correctly myself. I was better off when I started. Okay. Up like this, then down, and then skewed this way. Whereas this other one would go up and then like this. So when I draw it, I mean, forgive my drawing skills, it's a little more evident. Okay. All right. So option C is what we need. Now let's look at 4. Oh, goodness gracious. That's a lot of numbers to put in. I would like for you to try it. I've already put it in. And what we need is the mean, mode, median, and range, respectively. That's the order that they want it. So we're looking for the mean first. Then we're looking for the mode. And the median, we're going to get on our calculator. The range, the calculator doesn't give it to us directly, but we can calculate it very quickly. Okay, now go ahead and put it in. Let me show you what I've done. Okay, push data. I have populated mine into L3. Okay, to show you how I did it. Okay, now here they are. Now, if I go up, it's going to bounce me to the end. And I go up again. Notice L3 has 36 items in it, and it's saying that the last item is 64. And that's how I kept up with them as I was putting them in to make sure that I didn't enter more than 36. So you see now that your calculator will do this for you. So push data, populate it wherever you'd like. Okay. See, I'm going all the way up to show you what I've done. Okay, see? And then it's funny, I can keep going. But it doesn't matter. And notice, here's one big thing. I am not going to put them in order. Don't even try. Now, if I push data again, I need you to note that I can only clear things out. And there is a way to put in a formula for all that data. I can change it around if I like. I don't want to do that. What I want you to note that there is no sorting. The 84 allows you to sort this data, but you don't need to sort this data. And the likelihood of you being asked on a certification to sort this much data is just ludicrous. It isn't going to happen. So I'm going to go second mode. And before I even look about at the mode or look for the mode, even think about it, I am going to look for my mean. So that is second data. That gets me to stats. Okay, I want one variable. Okay, because that's really actually what I'm using. So how do you do that? Well, my data is in L3. So you go over to L3 and you push enter to highlight it. Now you're highlighting something else. Well, I am. Well, now you arrow over, see where it says 1, enter that. That way, that frequency data, there is no frequency table, so you're not worried about it. It's not going to do anything. Okay, so let's push calculate. Okay, be careful. Wait for it after you push it. Don't push it twice because then it'll bounce out. Okay, now it says I have 36 items entered. This is correct. And it is telling me that my mean is actually 6.83 repeating. Well, it looks like A is eliminated and D is eliminated. And 36 represents the data points, not the the mean. Okay. And yes, to make things politically correct, I really need a bar indicating repeating over my 3. But sometimes on tests, they don't do that because they go ahead and round, which, in all honesty, is appropriate here. But if you really are in a data course, if you remember, they said they needed 3 digits after, I'm not 3, but 4. Always give 4 rounded decimals after the decimal point. Okay, 4 decimals spaces after. Okay, whatever. We're not doing that today. We're good enough. We're going to go with A, B, and C. Okay, whatever. All right, well, we know that those are correct. Okay, so those guys are good to go. So I've got the means. Still not going to worry about the mode. Let's see, we need median. Median is what when we look at on the calculator? Well, it says MED, which also is Q2, by the way. Would you just arrow down for that? You're not going to calculate any of this. Just arrow down. There's Q1, MED for median 68. So we need the actual value of 68. Well, it looks like C is out. So we've got a median that's correct. We have a median and a mean. Okay, we're still looking for mode. Hey, let's go for range. Well, it should be 28. Okay, so our maximum is arrow down, it's 86. So we need 86 minus, what was it on the, let's see, the minimum? 58. Okay, yeah, that's going to be 28. Definitely. Yep. Okay, so those guys are correct. But C is out because 36 cannot be the mode. That's how many data points we had. And look, there is no 36. There is no 36 on my list. So there is no way it can be the mode. So C is 100% completely wrong. It has to be, my mode has to be 71. I didn't worry about it because I didn't want to sit and count all those. Let me see. Let's see, 71. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I see. There might be more. But if you just like eyeball it really quick, yeah, there's more of them compared to other values. So I would agree with that. These what we need. Okay, let's look at number 5. Okay. In a room of 10 people, 6 people each weigh 150 pounds. Of the remaining 4 people, one weighs 200 pounds and 2 others each weigh 140 pounds. If the mean weight of all 10 people is 158.5 pounds, what is the weight of the 10th person? Okay. Well, you know that it says here that the mean weight is this. Well, you know that when we say mean, we mean average. And there is a total of 10. So you're going to add up the weight of all the people and divide by 10, and it's going to equal 154.5. Okay, so what does that really look like mathematically? Let's write that in. 154.5. Okay, then when I write it in, we're going to put it into the calculator very quickly. Now, you can go ahead and solve it algebraically by hand if you like, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, I know that I will divide by how many people we have, which is 10. Okay, and I know that I need to call the 10th person X. I don't know how much that person weighs. It's an unknown weight. But for the first 6, I have 6 times 150. Okay. And then I'm going to add that to 6 people, then the 200. Then I have to add that to 2 others at 140. Okay, I'm going to have to do a little more creative fitting here. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Okay, so I had 6 people at 150 plus the 200 plus the 2 at 140, all added to my X. I don't know. Well, how should this be put in the calculator? Okay, you can do it all by hand really quick if you like. But we're talking about an algebraic situation, and I already know what I'm looking for. Okay, all of this is going to go together. All of these weights put together. But I'm not going to sit and waste my time adding these up. First, I want X alone. And everybody knows how to do this, how to get X alone. First, I'm going to multiply by 10 on both sides to get rid of the 10. Okay, fine. So let's do that. Well, I'm going to put everything with 154.5. It will be multiplied times 10. Okay, and I got rid of my 10. Now I want to subtract everything I have in brackets. Well, it's added to the X. So that means I need to subtract it from both sides. So that means minus, okay, in parentheses, 6 times 150. Okay? And that's plus the 200. Now I can just type it in with the addition because I have it in parentheses, and you can do double parentheses if you like. You can put it in the way I have it using parentheses again instead of brackets. I'm not going to do that. That's fine the way I'm doing it right now. And then I have 2 times 140 and then parentheses. Okay, why is that going to be okay? Because I know the laws of operations, order of operations, and the way I have the multiplication and the addition together, it will satisfy. Okay, now that is what you need to do. I've used, or rather, I've typed in what I would do to both sides, but I've only put in my right hand side because it's where all the numeric values are and all the operations. X is now alone. Okay. You need to pencil this out for yourself. I can do these things in my head. So let's push enter, 165. Okay. Now, if you can learn how to do this quickly and see what to do algebraically, and instead of writing it all down, put it into the calculator with these smaller values, it's beneficial. It's a big time saver. When I took my test, I actually was able to do that and I saved myself some time. Remember, you only have 3 minutes a question. Okay, let's go to number 6. Number 6, the mean weight of the 34 dogs and cats at the We Love Pets animal shelter is 38 pounds. If 2 of the dogs that weigh 40 pounds and 60 pounds respectively are adopted, what is the weight of the remaining cats and dogs? Okay, so let's do a little setup. Let's think logically here. We have mean weight, okay, and we have a total of 38. Well, we know that the basic equation or formula that we set up for mean is we're going to add up all the weights. So let's do that. I'm going to have the 40 plus the 60. Oops. Okay. Then plus X question. Okay, let me highlight that so we see this part right here. That's my X. I'm trying to answer, well, what do the rest of the dogs and cats weigh? That's the other 32 pets. What do they weigh? So that's my X. Okay, so this is going to be my X, right? Now, this would be all of them added up, divided by how many dogs and cats. Well, they told us how many? 34. And all of that average, when we calculate it, they're telling us that it's going to be 38 pounds average. Okay. So do a little algebra, and then that's what we're going to put into the calculator. Okay, let me change colors. So if we multiply both sides by 34, okay, 34 over here, that gets rid of the 34 on the left-hand side. And we would have left, we would have the 40 plus 60, which coincidentally, that's 100 pounds, but I'm not going to add that together. So we can see exactly what I did. Then plus the X equals, okay, I have 38 times the 34. Then we simply subtract that from both sides to get X alone. So let me make this a little clearer. Change back this color. So minus the 40 plus the 60, which is 100. We know that. So I'm going to do it over here so you see it. So minus, oops. Well, if I could write today, that'd be great. Okay, so 40 plus the 60, right? So if we subtract that in the calculator, that's going to give us what our X is, okay? So this means that here, use a different color. All of this is my zero pair. That's going to be 0, so it's gone. So we do the right-hand side, we're going to have what X equals. It's not an approximation. It's actually going to be equal to the value that we need. Let's pop in the calculator. So in parentheses, we have 40 plus 60, and I'm not adding that up because I want you to see what we have. Actually, that is incorrect. I need to put in multiplied 38 times the 34. Now I subtract the 40 plus the 60. Okay, and that's what I have on my right-hand side. Okay, double checking my numbers. Let's push enter. And that is the weight of the remaining animals in the shelter, which is option D. All right, let's take a look at the next one. All right, so now let's look at number 7. What is the median and mode of these numbers below? Okay, we can use a list for this. However, I'm looking at the mode. And at first the eyes pop to 100, but then I'm going to say it's 75. So let's take a look here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 values of 75. Oh, definitely the mode. Okay. Well, that eliminates option B. Still might be A and C and D. Because, and I say A because there is a possibility, although not frequent, that the median is also 75. I mean, it could happen. Why not? So we're going to enter these values, okay? And there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 of them. So we need to make sure as we're entering, that we know n equals 20. Just make sure we don't enter too few or too less, okay? That's just a good way to keep up with it. So let's see. Let's clear out our list. We don't need to go back and use those, so we're okay. Push data again. Remember, go up. You see that number 4? They're all cleared out. So clean slate. So let's start entering. 50, enter, 0, enter, then 100, and 25, then 75, 75, 100, let's see here, 50, and then 75. Trying to make sure that I'm looking correctly. So I think that first row is 10, and that was 10. Okay, so I'm keeping up with it, and I think I'm okay. All right, if I miss something, we will find out. Okay, 75 enter, 75. There's 2 of those. Then 2 100s. Okay, and then 3 75s. So there's 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then we should have 18. Yes, we're on number 18. So that's 50, and then 100, and then 50 again. Just a way to keep up with it. Okay. All right. So now we know we have actually entered 20 items, which means we're probably pretty good. Okay. So now I'm going to back out and go second data. Okay. Now I know that I'm just going to I used L1 and I only need one variable data. So let's enter. Okay. But I need to go and say L1. Just enter and there you go. And leave it at 1. Remember, we aren't using L2 and we aren't using a frequency anyway. Okay, so let's enter that again. There we go. And let's see. We don't need the mean. That's 66 and a quarter. What we need is mode. They asked us for median and mode. Now we got mode. Okay, we think that's 75. In fact, we know it is. I have it highlighted. So median. So that would be our Q2, our MED. And there we go, 75. So looks like A is the option. I mean, a little coincidental. I mean, but the data shows it could happen with the numbers we have. I would agree. Okay. All right. So let's go to number 8. We still have 8 and 9. I'm going to clear out my button list. Okay. All right. It says a list of numbers consists of 5 13s, 2 21s, 1 32, and 7 40s. What is the median? Oh my goodness. This is a question that is so simple that it confuses. You're not looking at the value of the numbers, you're looking at where the numbers are. Okay. Notice this is in order 13, 21, 32, 40. So you can look at them as is. Okay. There are 7 of these. And when you put these guys together, there are 7 of those. And smack dab in the middle is the 32. Who's in the middle? The value of 32. That is your MED. Your median is always the value in the middle, literally in the middle. So, these it. Okay. All right, we didn't even need a calculator for that. Now let's look at number 9. The median for a list of numbers ranged arranged in ascending order occur midway between, okay, this is good, between the 29th and the 30th numbers. Okay, so look at what I have for number 8. We have 1 in the middle. Everything is on one side or the other. So that's where the symmetry is. So for the one above, we have 7 plus 7 is 14, plus the one in the middle. That's 15 numbers. Okay, this one says midway between these two numbers. Well, it isn't a number that it's not a whole number. So it's like, it could be like 13 and a half or 10 and a half. So we're not counting the half. So really, half of the actual numbers, the literal half of numbers in the list, there are 29 on one side. So if there's 29 on one side, there must be 29 on the other. So how many data values are there? 2 times 29. Second mode, 2 times 29. And I don't care how easy it is. You go ahead and put that in the calculator, and that means there are 58 actual numbers. And you know that because you have to go in between two of the numbers to get the literal middle of the numbers. Okay? All right, let's go to number 10. Number 10. A set of data has a mode of 17, a median of 12, and a mean of 6. What is the distribution shape of the measures given? First, you need to put them in order, okay, from always least to greatest, okay, always. So I have 6, 12, and 17, okay? Now, I need you to understand that 6, that's your mean, then your median is 12 and 17 is your mode. Now, from the images that we discussed about shapes, the images we gave, and also there was a question, a couple of them, that showed that the skew, whatever it's skewed to, okay, the shape, it will be near the mu or the mean. And this notation I have here is for mean. So that means this will look something like this. It'll skew off here and then go like this. So you need to know that this implies a left, that would be a left skew. So it is skewed to the left. Okay, there you go. That's option B. And obviously, it isn't going to be symmetric, or the values on the left and right at the very ends, the max and mins would be about the same. So that's not going to work. And symmetric, that would be, I'm sorry, if it's symmetric, if it's uniform, then all these values would be about the same. So obviously that doesn't apply. Okay, so it is to the left. Now let's look at number 11. Okay, a set of data has a mode of 48, a median of 47.2, and a mean of 47.8. Okay, let's see. Now, if we put those in order from least to greatest, we will again, let's see, least to greatest. Okay, who is, it has a mode of 48. So my mode is here. Okay, and then the median is here. And then again, let's see here, my median. Yeah, my mean is the least. So here again, this one is also, it is also skewed to the left. I mean, it is what it is. This implies that we are to the left. That was a coincidence, but it is what it is. You can't change the numbers. That's what they gave you. So obviously, this is your least and mode is your greatest. There you go. Okay. All right. I could have used a capital M for that, but that's the mode. Okay. And that would have been 48 and it was greatest. So that is the truth. So there we go. Option B again. Okay, it looks like all these answers are all like in the same order, so they're consistent. So let's look at number 12. A set of data has a mode of 84.5, a mean of 97.42, and that's a median, yes, and a mean of 102.4. Okay, well, let's put it in order from least to greatest. Looks like my least value is going to be my mode. And then, of course, in the middle is my median. And then the greatest value is the mean. Okay, let's use our mu. And that implies that this data is skewed to the right. So in this case, we would select A. Okay. Now, if you go back and look at those images and do a little research on this, you will see that this is always going to work. So with these questions, they don't have to give you a lot of information, like as in data to enter and have the calculator spit it out for you. You really need to know all these properties before you walk in to take a test. And that's basically what they are truly testing you on. What basic properties do you know, and do you know how to find them quickly and accurately? Okay, this is the last question in this video. I wanted to thank everyone who has been watching and liking and subscribing and sharing our videos. And we just received a notice from someone who passed their test recently. Kudos to you. Congratulations. And in my note to you, I said, do me a favor, pass it forward to your students. She thanked me because the videos are all free, that she didn't have to pay for them to get help. Again, please pay it forward to your students. Do me a favor. Happy testing, everyone.